Hello friends, welcome to our channel Mechanical Motivator. In this channel, you will be seeing mechanical and motivation related videos. In this video, we will be seeing an introduction to torsional vibration. So in this diagram, we can see a shaft. In this shaft, one end is fixed and at the other end, there is a disc or a rotor. So actually what happens here is when we rotate the rotor, there will be a twisting moment. It can be either clockwise or anti-clockwise. That is, since due to this twisting moment, a torsional vibration occurs. So just imagine this as a disc or a rotor. Actually, what happens here is, and this B point. So consider this B point as the mean position. When the disc or a rotor twists, what happens here is the point B will be moving to an extreme point A in clockwise direction. So after that, what happens is it will be returning back to point B and then it will be moving to point C. So another extreme position. So this is what happening to and fro will be happening here, and due to this twisting, there will be a twisting moment induced in the shaft. So this is what we're going to see in torsion vibration. In torsional vibration, when the vibrating particles of the shaft, or a disc are moved in a circular direction about the axis of the shaft, we call it as torsion vibration. So before going deep into the torsion vibration, we must know the basic difference between longitudinal, transverse, and torsion vibration. So here we can see longitudinal vibration and torsion, transverse vibration. In longitudinal vibration, a shaft will be fixed at one end. At the other end, there will be a mass attached to it. So what happens here is the particles will be vibrating parallel to the axis of the shaft. So initially the mass will be at the point B. Due to vibration, it will be moving to point A and then it will be moving to point C. So what happens here is vibrating particles of the shaft moves parallel to the axis of the shaft. So what happens here is due to this vibration, tensile and compressive force are induced in longitudinal vibration. When we coming back to transverse vibration, what happens here is, so same shaft, one end fixed, another end mass will be there. So here what happens is vibrating particles of the shaft are moved approximately perpendicular to the axis of the shaft. So due to this transverse vibration, bending stress will be induced. So try to understand that in case of longitudinal vibration, we will be having tensile or compressive stresses. Whereas in case of transverse vibration, we will be having bending stresses. In case of torsional vibration, we will be having torsional shear stresses are induced. So we will be seeing in detail in this video. So actually torsional vibration is also called as angular vibration. It's actually an angular vibration of an object, and generally it would be taking place along the axis of rotation. So in torsion vibration, if we concern means we will be seeing mostly in power transmission. So actually what happens in power transmission, we will be using a rotating shaft or a coupling there. So at those places, torsion vibration plays a major role. And also if we don't control torsion vibration means, then it will be leading to the shaft failure also. So it should be controlled. So what happens there? The shaft is twisted or untwisted alternatively. So because of these things, the torsional shear stresses are induced in the shaft. So actually what is torsional shear stress? It is nothing but shear stress induced in the shaft due to twisting. So just try to understand that due to this twisting of the shaft, a torsional shear stress are induced. This twisting in the shaft is caused by a couple or a torque acting on it. So basically what torsion vibration? So due to this rotation of the shaft, what happens is a twisting moment is induced, and due to this twisting moment, a torsional shear stresses are induced in the shaft. So we will be seeing in detail. So now we will be seeing which are the places where torsion vibration plays a major role. So actually torsional vibration is a predominant, that is whenever there are large discs, there are large disc or gears on a relatively thin shaft. So the disc should be very large and it should be attached to a thin shaft. At those places, torsional vibration take place. We can also take an example as a punching machine, even IC engine, or even flywheel also we can take. So in IC engine, what happens is inertia forces are induced in IC engine at the place of piston movement. So at the place of piston movement, due to the piston movement, inertia forces will be induced. Whereas in case of punching machine, what happens is impulsive load will be occurring during the normal machine cycle. So in punching machine, impulsive loads are induced. Whereas we can also take an example of a electrical machine, such as if a generator has some line fault, means what happens means it will be leading to the shock loads will be applied. So due to this shock load, the torsional vibration will be created in the shaft. So we can also tell those examples. So everything, actually what happens, ultimate thing is the torque is transmitted with the help of gears or turbine blades, and because of this torque there will be a twisting moment induced in the shaft. So this is the basic thing which we need to understand. So in this diagram, we can see very well that, excuse me, spotlight will take, okay. In this diagram, actually this is the mean position. When the disk rotates means we'll be getting an angle theta, and this angle theta is called it as angular displacement. So mass of the disk is denoted by M, and torsional stiffness, actually Q is the torsional stiffness, or else torsional displacement also we can call it as. So torsional stiffness is denoted by small q, and mass moment of inertia is capital I. Radius of gyration is denoted as K. Diameter of the shaft is denoted as D. So actually what happens here is, so we can compare this setup with the spring setup which we have at a glance in equilibrium method for determining the natural frequency. So actually in springs what happens is there will be two forces acting. One will be resisting force and another one will be accelerating force. So same compared to that, we will be comparing these two things. Instead of accelerating force, actually we will be having an accelerating torque. So instead of actually in springs what we wrote is accelerating force is equal to m d square x by dt square. So instead of m we will be replacing with I, and instead of x we will be replacing with theta. So this is the basic difference. So accelerating torque is equal to capital I d square theta by dt square, and this is the equation 1. Whereas in resisting torque, actually the first one will be the accelerating torque, and resisting torque should be against it. So since it's against, we are putting it as negative, so minus q theta. So in springs we used to write like resisting force is written as s into x. So s is the stiffness is replaced by a torsional stiffness, and x that is a displacement, and here we call it as angular displacement. So both the things are almost similar, and we just have a comparison alone. So resisting torque is equal to minus q theta. So it can be written as equation 2. So now what we're going to do is we're going to equate equation 1 and 2. So I d square theta by dt square is equal to minus q theta. So next step what we're going to do is we're going to take this right hand side minus q theta to the left hand side. So it will become positive, and then we will be dividing the entire equation with I, capital I. So once we divide the entire equation means we'll be getting as d square theta by dt square plus q by I theta is equal to 0, and this is the equation 3. So we can compare with the simple harmonic motion. So there what we got, d square x by dt square plus omega n square x is equal to 0. So we can replace omega n by root of s by m. So just replace omega n by root of s by m. We have already learned in detail in equilibrium method for determining natural frequency for longitudinal and transverse vibration. So same thing I have going to use now also. So omega n is equal to root of q by I. Actually what happens here is we're going to replace the normal stiffness with torsional stiffness, and this mass m will be replaced by capital I. So this is what happening in torsional vibration. So omega n is equal to root of q by I. So this will be fourth equation. Now we're going to determine natural frequency for torsional vibration. So frequency can be written as Fn is equal to omega n divided by 2 pi, and this omega n can be replaced as root of q by I. So we can get an equation as Fn is equal to 1 by 2 pi root of q by I. So this is the natural frequency for torsional vibration. So we actually during the strength of materials in torque chapter, we have already saw the torque equation. The torque equation is T by J is equal to C theta by L is equal to tau by R. So just neglect the tau by R, just take these four terms alone. So T by J is equal to C theta by L. Just get this theta downwards and J upwards, cross multiply. So we'll be having as T by theta is equal to Cj by L. So just replace this Cj by L with torsional stiffness. So Q, instead of Q, I'm going to replace as Cj by L. So actually in natural frequency for torsional vibration equation, Fn is equal to 1 by 2 pi. Instead of this Q, I'm writing as Cj by L into I. Now we have determined the natural frequency for torsional vibration. So its unit will be Hertz. So in upcoming videos, we'll be seeing the different types of rotor system and torsionally equivalent shaft. In case if you have any doubt, means you can type in the comment section. Please do subscribe to my channel Mechanical Motivator and press the bell icon. Then only you can get all the videos which I upload. Thank you for watching this video. Have a great day.